Did changes, challenges, or priorities force you to put some of your passions on hold earlier in life? Well, it's not too late. This moment can still be yours. Today, we're going to be talking about later in life pursuing passion and purpose. I'm going to play a quick intro here, give a few more folks a chance to join us, and then we'll launch into the conversation from there.
I always like to create an environment where people feel comfortable to ask questions. You don't always know what you don't know. You may not have it all figured out today, and that's okay. Taking one step at a time, those glimmers become a consistent light. It all finally begins to click. Each and every moment that you experience is shaping the person you are in this life to be.
Sometimes our pain points go all the way back to childhood.
What if I allowed myself to imagine a life that was more spacious and expansive than the one I'm living?
What if I don't have to live the same way that everyone else is living?
When you are authentic, your energy changes and the people around you change. It's just like doors just start opening. You're like, well, wait, how did this happen? How did this happen? How did this happen? You're showing up completely different.
And often it does require healing and going in some uncomfortable spaces before we can truly flourish.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Let's Chat. Today, we're going to be talking about later in life pursuing passion and purpose. Maybe you were a little bit younger and you had those things that you dreamed of doing or wanted to do, but maybe just life circumstances made it such that those things that you wanted to do got put on hold. Now you're a little bit older and you're wondering, can I still do this thing that I dreamed of doing 15, 20 years ago? Well, it's not too late. And I wanted to introduce you to some folks today that are finding within themselves the courage to live their passion and carve out space to do some of the things that they love a little bit later in life. So I'm going to bring up our guests. First, I'm going to bring up Dawn, returning for us. So good to see you again, Coach Dawn. Yes, Dawn Johnson, life and mindset coach. Thanks for joining me again today. So glad to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and Michael, Dr. Michael Spence, so great to see you here. Michael is one of our viewers, and he was telling me about some of his interests and passions, and I said, oh, this will be a great conversation to invite you to join, and I'm so glad to have you. Michael is a writer, editor, voice actor, and has a doctorate in systematic theology. Did I say that right?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
in fact, I'm not sure why I put that on there. I mean, it's true, but
yes,
sometimes I have to remind myself that, yes, I've got the background to take on some bold projects.
So, well, hey, well, we want to give you all your titles. You earned them and did the work, so let's use them. So glad to have you here today. And then we've got Kimberly Smith-Moore. Kimberly, first time here for Let's Chat as well, owner and real estate agent broker for Promise Realty. So glad to have you today. And then last but not least, Dr. Michael G. WULF joining us today for the first time on Let's Chat. So glad to have you. You wear many hats. Some of them include the founder of NSBE Junior Twin Cities, president of Northwest Metro Toastmasters, founder and executive director at Minnesota STEM Partners. And are there any more titles that we should add, sir?
I'm sure there might be, but
okay. Will those work for tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, I had this conversation a few months ago, and I feel like it's a topic that will really resonate with folks because life takes all kinds of twists and turns, and we have those things that we've been holding on to, and we're just saying, "Oh, I'm too old for that," or "Oh, I can't do this," or "I can't do that," and we might be at the perfect age to revisit that thing that we're passionate about. So I'll go ahead and start with you, Coach Dawn. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey to now?
My journey to now started with being fired from corporate America after almost 23 years in consumer products. Basically, it's I was too much of a lot of things, too old, too black, maybe too smart, too wise. And I no longer fit, not that I ever really did, fit that very particular corporate America mold. I just did and followed the traditional path like many of us have. It's like, hey, you make good grades, you go to college, and you get a job, you get married, you get a dog, you have 3.5 kids, all the things, right? And so I'm no different. I followed that very traditional path, not really connecting that this is really not what I want to do, but this is just what I'm supposed to do. Because this is what everyone's doing. This is the traditional path. And as as African American, it's really important that we do that because I had to do it for my brothers because they were following me. So I couldn't mess up. So I stayed on that path. And actually for me, being fired after almost 23 years now at 55 years old was the best thing that ever happened to my life. And I am thriving. I am doing what I was divinely guided to do in this life and pursuing all the things that corporate America actually told me that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't ready. Oh, it's just not time. Oh, you're not relocatable. Just every excuse under the sun. I mean, I'm doing things now that I never thought in multiple lifetimes that I would be this human that I am today, and I couldn't be any happier in my 50s.
And some of the things that we think of, losing a job, that's scary. That's, it kind of forces you to figure out, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Like, you're clinging to the things that but sometimes that's your opportunity to find who you are in a lot of ways, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
100%.
And Michael, let's talk about you. I know you kind of ended up in Minnesota. You said at one point it's because your wife is a Minnesota native, right? And then for you, you have always, even since you were a kid, you had this interest in writing, and you did voice work growing up over the years as well. And you liked writing stories. But something that you told me when we were first talking about this is that you've narrated work for others. You had never created a podcast of your own. And the reason that you didn't have your own podcast was because you told yourself you never had enough material for another anything regular. And looking back, it just sounds in a way you said like an excuse, but you have all of this talent that you're finding ways to share through writing and lending your voice to works as well.
Well, I'm realizing that you could have said also that you couldn't find enough material, and somehow I don't think that has turned out to be the case.
Touche.
So I should probably make a note from a page from your book. As for writing, it was always can I say a daydream of mine. I was not really sure that I had the what it took, the right stuff. But not too long ago, a dear friend of mine who now lives in San Francisco, we were both science fiction fans.
Mm-hmm.
She actually got published, and we talked about what she was doing, I talked about some ideas that I had, and lo and behold, we wound up collaborating. That was not my first story sale, but I think I can say it was the second, and it led to a collaboration that has produced quite a few short stories. I have a couple of ideas for a novel and another nonfiction book. I don't know how they're going to turn out, but it is no longer a case of I can't do it. It was now I know others who can. I have some ideas as to a possible pipeline towards publication, which I didn't have before. As I was growing up, I didn't have that. And I think that was part of it. I thought, I can do that. I might do this, but I'm not one of those people who really can do it. I don't have the connections, the ways to make themselves visible in the real world. Mm-hmm. Well, there are a couple of ways that I thought I'd mention while during our time together, and so it can be done. Mm-hmm. What I need to do is get with it.
And then you have to believe that you are enough, and who you are is enough, what you do is enough. And one of the things that you had said before is, I think I had asked you, have you been writing since you were a kid, or was it something you had picked up later in life, and how long had you been narrating? And one of the things that you said was, I did write things as a kid, they stank, and only recently have I come to realize that's okay. Everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
I once put on my, like so many, I do have a blog. And I once said there that I intend to be a late bloomer, which means there's going to be a lot of fertilizer. But I think it's a matter of just giving it a try. I look back on memories of what I wrote, whether it was for school or just thinking, hey, I got some paper here. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah. I didn't do that too long because I looked at it and I thought, that's really kind of silly. And it isn't anything like what I was reading. Mm-hmm. I have been a science fiction fan for years upon years. And I had always been starstruck. Mm-hmm. And with that goes the idea that, no, I'm not one of those stars. So, but forget it. You don't have to be, oh dear, you don't have to be a star. And now I'm hearing Marilyn McCoo, Billy Davis Jr. out.
That's a great song.
Yeah, and I was gonna.
You said I finally realized you have to give yourself permission to write garbage, because you will. It's the only way you can get towards writing something that isn't garbage.
Yes.
Practice.
Yes. You got to get started. Yes. You just got to start somewhere, and trust that where you are when you start is not where you will always be, because Absolutely. The more you write, the more you grow, the better you become, and the prouder you'll become of the work that you produce. It just takes time.
Indeed. But hence the fertilizer comment.
Yes. And I like that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Michael. That's such a great perspective. Kimberly, I want to talk to you too, because like Dawn, you also had experienced a long career in corporate America, and you got to a place where you said, I'm making this 6-figure salary, but my passion work is something else. Talk about your journey.
Sure, I can do that. Thank you for having me, first of all. And so I love the stories, and So Coach Don, I actually quit. And it was, I think one of the things and what's resonating listening to Coach Don and Dr. Spence is courage. It takes courage to make that step. And so after working, so first of all, I'm a native of Minneapolis. So I'm born and raised here. I worked for a major bank as a senior vice president for, over 22 years actually. And towards, I had been doing all the right things, right? Working my way up the corporate ladder and doing all the right things, but feeling like I was at times a fish out of water, right? I would be in meetings and, a lot of times I don't see anybody that looks like me. Okay. I'm in board meetings. Nobody looks like me, right?
Correct.
And
Yes.
so, you work through that. And I actually achieved my real estate license a long time ago because I was on a quest to help my community, right? I was planning on helping my community provide tools and resources to them so they could achieve home ownership, right? And doing that in a predominantly Twin Cities area, I'm talking back in the late or kind of early 80s, right? Where, it was difficult for a Black woman to sell real estate because, and I'm just going to keep it real, white folks didn't want to work with me, right? Because of my color. And even my own race wouldn't work with me because and I call it the white is right syndrome, right? Where they feel that just because of your skin color, just because you're white, you know more than a Black person. So I had to deal with all that. And so it really deferred me into going into corporate America and then working my way up. And eventually I got to a point where I heard myself talking about just kind of not being happy, right? And when you keep talking about not being happy, it's kind of like, you know what? Either I'm going to keep talking about it or you do something about it. And it takes courage to do something. So as people were getting packages and laid off, I wasn't one of them because they wanted to keep me. I had to make the decision to do what I felt I was guided to do. And that was really to, help my community, especially at this time, at the stage where we are as a race in terms of the gaps in home ownership, the disparities that exist here in the state of Minnesota. We have the highest disparity gaps in housing, home ownership, education, the list goes on, you guys know. And so it for me, and a friend of mine told me that, she said, it really took courage for you to do that. And it did. And it really, takes courage to do that, but it opens up doors for you that you would never have known existed until you take that step. So I'm excited about that and excited to share my story.
Well, I'm so glad that you are joining us today. And really at the root of all of this is courage. It's courage to try something new, courage to not live just the life that you're living, but try to strive to live the life you're capable of living. It all has to start somewhere. And the courage to say, I'm not going to just keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to branch out and try something different. That's not a courage that everyone finds within themselves, because it's always going to be more comfortable to just be safe and know, okay, I know if I follow this path, I'm going to have my bills paid. I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to work. But this other path that may be more in alignment with what your actual passions are, it's harder. It's less certain.
Yes.
You don't know, the
downs.
ups and downs. Exactly. And it's scary. When you don't know what you're stepping into. Dr. Wolf, I really wanted you to be on here today because I keep up with everybody on social media, their life adventures and progress. And I think your journey is so incredible. Has it been over 2 years now, your weight loss journey?
Yep, just over 2 years.
Yes. And I'm going to share some pictures here in just a second, but tell me before I do, what spawned this for you? Why did you say, I need to change my life?
Well, I can tell you quite honestly, like many others, there is an intersection of pain that comes into your life. Mine happened to be physical pain. I was over 400 pounds. I had a long history of just existing, started taking over-the-counter medicines and just trying to find some level of comfort. And then I had the great opportunity to lead and participate in a national convention for an organization called BDPA in Atlanta. Their hotel was split apart and functioning on different floors. And I just knew I made a resolve August of 2019 that I would not come back to Atlanta feeling the way I did leaving there in a suit, walking around, my feet are killing me, trying to look nice. But, literally every day I was dying because it was very physical. Although we take things for granted, like climbing stairs, taking a walk around the block. You have to realize not everybody can do those things. And these are just a simple assumed functions of most human beings. So this journey has really been an act of courage for me in the context that I'm very transparent. On Instagram, I think I've posted almost every single day, and now it's less frequent because, the progress, right? You've heard the saying that, oh man, you're an overnight success. You lost these 100 pounds, but it took me 8 months to get there, right? And so the reality of it is, as you said, Ms. Reeves, is that, following people on social media, I have a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but I have enough people that are quietly following me, and this means something to them for somebody to share their particular perspective, their unique situation. And so for me, my journey did start with really trying to figure out a way to resolve the pain. I actually thought that quiet fear that in a couple of years, when I started, or a year later, that I would have to have knee surgery. I didn't realize that my pain was caused by the post-chemo impact of deadening of the tissues and the cells in my lower extremities. I didn't realize that the motorcycle accident I was in, that I had never, you think with a title like doctor, somebody should be smart behind all these certificates and credentials, right? Of course, my grandmother used to say there's sense and not a lot of people have common sense, but I never did follow the physician's advice to do physical therapy. And so here I am, 10, 15 years later with a whole bag, of not necessarily in the best physical shape. I'm surviving, but there are people that go through the day with chronic pain that they just become accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Right. And these are some of the pictures that you've shared on social media during the course of your journey. I didn't even grab hardly a fraction of them, but these were a few that resonated. I can't remember what date you posted this, but you were talking about just logging your food. And sometimes you just have to start somewhere. Maybe if you can't start with actually going to the gym, maybe logging your food is where you start. Maybe it's taking 5 more steps today than you took yesterday. You have to start somewhere. Can you talk about the picture that we're looking at here and what you wanted to convey there?
Yeah, I think as it relates to just starting is just that. It's getting started. You have to take the first step. And very briefly, my first step was walking into a gym called Los Campeones. Shout out to the folks there. But that gym is specifically for bodybuilders. And I wouldn't say specifically, I shouldn't trash that, but their body, when you walk into there, Shayla, there is beefcake. There is beefcake stacked on top of beefcake. Their beefcake has beefcake. Right? So I'm standing next to guys that look like Brahma bulls, and I'm 400 pounds, and my goal was to pedal 10 to 15 minutes. And Dawn is my leadership coach, but I have another coach that I'm very fond of and owe her a great debt of gratitude, and that's to Lucianne Olson, who is African-American woman, owns her own business as well, called Revival Training LLC. But I took that first step, and I think she probably, I don't know what was going through her mind, but all I could do was pedal 10 minutes on a recumbent sitting down bike. But every week I added, as you said, an extra minute. And then she pulled some tricks and said, hey, pedal a mile. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill this woman, right? I couldn't lift the empty bar of the weights. And now, although compared to maybe men of my similar status, whatever, which you should never compare yourself to any other individual, there's still that little mental part that hasn't resonated yet that I'm finally coming into. And I think that picture was really more of, hey, you gotta carve out that time for yourself. You have to make yourself a priority. If you don't make yourself a priority and you don't look at things that are going to impact you down the road, you're gonna end up saying the same thing every New Year's resolution. I'm gonna lose this, I'm gonna lose 30 pounds. And I promise you, over the span of 20 years, I might have joined the same fitness club 2 or 3 times and canceled 2 or 3 times and made those New Year's resolutions and never walked in after the first month or two. And I think the mental discipline of doing this isn't necessarily that hard, but nobody ever talks about getting your mind right before you get your body right.
Yes.
So logging your food every day actually teaches you a new habit, because it's all about the habit, right? It's not about you being able to achieve a certain thing, but if you can't make that particular habit sustainable, eventually the old habits creep back in and you will slowly go back to the way that you were before. It may not creep up on you, but once you, and I have done this, is not being hypocritical, I have rolled up back through McDonald's and I have gotten, instead of getting the big double Mac with the everything, I started by saying, hey, I need to find something with, that's nutritious. 2, 3, 5 days later, I'm back to the #1 Big Mac, the fries, and the Diet Coke. Although I pray to God that none of my tribe members are watching this, because I will deny it in the gym, because my coach is going to make me do 50 more push-ups. So go ahead. I hope she's not watching, because I never wanted to admit that.
Yes, I want to quickly play this excerpt. This is a short excerpt that you had shared on Instagram when you reached 6 months into your weight loss journey, and I thought that the message really resonated with the conversation that we're having today about pursuing passion and purpose, and the commitment that you have to, okay, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be living this life where maybe it's less than the one I'm capable of living, or I don't want to keep putting my passions on hold, whatever that is for anyone watching. Once you make that decision and then you put in the work, it's just incredible how that transformation really begins to take hold.
I just wanted to drop this little quick message just to say, if you're on the fence about deciding what you need to do, I walked in totally intimidated into Los Campeones, the #1 bodybuilding gym in the Upper Midwest. And there was some big bodies up in there. Let me tell you, they are killing it, man. But they're serious people. And so wherever you work out at, whatever you do, make sure whatever you do is serious if it's about you. Nobody else really cares about you, right? I mean, the reality of it is there's certain things that you just cannot delegate, outsource, or let others take control of. When you're ready to lose this weight, you will lose weight, because it's going to require you to fix your mind in the fashion that it needs to be fixed to put those proper things into your body and move your body the right way. And so many of you watching this probably already get it, but this is a shout out to all those people that are on the fence that just need to go and get it done. So be great, do all those things that you need to do to take care of yourself, your temple, and don't ever let anybody try to distract you or stray you from that long-term vision. My goals are completely different today. I posted something about maybe doing roller skating. I heard an old Sugar Hill Gang song, but it does make me wonder, had I not walked into the gym that day, had I not fought every single insecurity, had I not fought doubt, had I fought like my clothing game sucks, I got fat boy clothing, all that stuff, right? All that stuff. And even today, I hate replacing clothes. Matter of fact, I don't know who the heck created these new underwear with no flies in the front. A brother can't be dropping his drawers down to his knees to go to the bathroom. What is that, some 5-year-old stuff? Anyway, I'm out. Much love. Good luck on your journey. And thank everyone, from the bottom of my heart for all your support. And I'm watching Weight Loss.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my God! I forgot about that fly comment. That and skinny jeans. I don't know where those came from either. But
Oh,
one day,
yeah.
oh, my thighs are too big for skinny jeans. But yeah, no. So, but thank you, Shayla, for sharing that, because that message still, 2 years later, still resonates, right? So until you get your mind right. And the other thing that I wish I would have known was enough about nutrition so that I could actually use one of my biggest things. If you look at every single Instagram post, generally I will, unless I throw in something personal, is food is fuel. And that is, I'll just give some free advice from a regular guy. I'm an EDD, an education doctorate, okay, not a physician. So I do want to say that food is fuel. Only put food into your body that will provide it the energy that it needs. And then one very simple thing you talked about logging to close that loop is I use an online app. Revival has an app where it will actually allow you to enter all the food that you eat and then calculate a macro. Like a macro is your fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. But if I would have just known a little bit about that, I probably could have jump-started some things earlier about eating. But you know what? Until you actually make the commitment of mind, body, and soul, and you can like make that first step forward, nothing is going to really matter. You are accountable for you and nobody else around you until you can take care of yourself. So.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. We've got a few comments here. Let's see. Main course, high five. Main course, encouragement, agreed with some of the comments that you said. And I think that laughter was for the little end of the video there.
Probably.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah.
Yes.
People out of Kentucky.
I agree. Who was the sadist who redesigned the skivvies? I do not get it. No.
Man, it's quite. I mean, as we all are, I can share this among the panelists is that I drink too much coffee, and I am when I gotta go. I can't be dealing with dropping things to your knees, and this is not the conversation I expected to have, Miss Reeves. Well, so I will put you on punishment. I'm that old, so.
And I wanted to ask, like, coming out of your conversation here, I want to ask you, Coach Don. I mean, you're on this journey to living your most authentic life, and Dr. WULF saying you've been a part of his process and living his most authentic life. To be able to see how the courage to live your truth is now helping someone else live their truth. Is it sort of an affirmation that you made the right decision, that the life and the path that you're on is the right one?
100%. And the number one thing you have to do is just decide that you're going to do something different, and then make the calculated decisions. But once you decide this is it, even though corporate America gave me the shove that I needed, and that's okay, because that was just part of my journey, that I needed to be fired because, again, I'm a single mom, divorced mom of 3 sons, and I was just always going to do the right thing to feed my family. And so we sacrifice for these kids, right? And so when it was my time, I wasn't in the fetal position. I didn't completely fall apart this time. This time was my time to go do something else. And when I made that decision to figure out that what am I good at? I've been coaching, mentoring people my entire existence. I was always that leader within corporate America. They would send all the newbie, especially all the young black, they would send, go to Dawn. I'm the senior black woman here. Yep, you can train them. And so, but anyway, all the new hires would all come to me, and I would mentor and nurture. I'm a track and field athlete. I've coached track. So I've been an athlete, Division I athlete. And so coaching and being a part of this whole process of how coaching helps you to really unlock your greatness. And everyone can point to a dope coach in their life that helped them, that guided them to get there. And that's all I do. My divine purpose is to help you, guide you into your greatness. That's already there. And especially when we get to this age of, this senior age, it's like we start to like doubt that we still have value in this society. And we do. Our wisdom, our knowledge, our experiences are so important for us to give that back, to pour back in, especially into our young people. And I just have always believed I've got to lead. I've got to lead. I've got to be the one. I'm a firstborn. I'm all about leadership. I'm all about taking that risk. And yes, as an athlete, yes, there is courage. There's this something in you that keeps driving you, that keeps pushing you. And I always had that. Now, how do I take that and instill that in others to remind them of their greatness? When I started working with Dr. WULF, so thank you for that shout out. It's like he had done this amazing shedding of all of this weight. And he really started to, after, doing so much shedding, it's like, wait a minute, I got some stuff going on the inside that the outside I'm working on. I'm working on the inside and feeding my body the nourishment that it needs to live a healthier life. But again, what's going on up in here? Okay, how do I connect what's going on in here and really connect it on what's going on in my heart? And I tell all of my clients that everything in your heart is your authentic truth. We just got to get out of our heads, out of our thoughts, and we're so conditioned to believe everything that we think. And everything that we think sometimes is not the truth. And so just really understanding like what's that process, right? And that process is to go into your heart space, go into that truest you that's really allowing you to do all of these hard things. And as older individuals, I'm not going to speak, but I'll speak for myself as an older, individual, I knew I had it. And I just decided to go inward and to bring as many people along this journey with me, because it's no fun to do it by yourself. It's no fun to be on this enlightened path all by yourself. So it's super dope. And Shayla, I'm very grateful that you've allowed me in this space to just speak my own truth to power. And then hopefully it encourages others along the way, because it is never, ever, ever too late. I never want to hear I'm too old, I'm too big, I'm not the right skin tone, I don't have the right educational background. All of that is BS, because we all have something. And sometimes you just need a coach. You need someone outside of you who believes in you, who can see your divine light and can help you get reconnected with that true source of who you are. And then magic happens, baby.
Yes, and as we've talked about before, it's the courage to do more of the things that you genuinely love, or to really embrace what that thing is that you can find yourself doing for hours. Maybe it's helping people, maybe it's showing up for folks, and being that voice of reason or wisdom for them. It grows. Like the things that you focus on grow. You attract more of that energy into your life.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's sort of affirmation that the path you're on is the right one. You just have to have the courage to stay on it. Michael, would you like to add on?
Yeah, you're so right, Dawn. Thank you. And Shayla, that is a great transition. But I did want to say that intersecting with my weight loss was my true love, my true passion, my purpose, right? We talk about finding a purpose. I found my purpose later in life, and that is actually being able to give back the father in me. I raised two young men. I involved them in certain things that I knew would give them a competitive advantage for the future. So my love is actually the Minnesota STEM partnership. However, how can advancing technology for students, BIPOC students, offering them free services, right? Free training in robotics and drones and all this, what does that have to do with your weight loss? You'll probably say, where is the connection? The connection is we as people have to represent ourselves with something that will encourage the students to stay the track. I can't ask somebody to do something that I can't do myself. And I love what Dawn, who is actually also providing consulting for cultural relevancy, any human resource needs, but she knows that we want to have an excellent organization. And the only way we can do it is be great, excellent representatives of ourselves first, so that we can prove to these children that they too can be more than what they ever imagined, right? I may not articulate the words, but the way I carry myself, the way that I move, the kids know that we don't play, but we're going to get some things done. So I do appreciate this platform too, Shayla, and I didn't want to capitalize on all the time, but finding your purpose is very difficult. Some people find it when they're young. Some people find it, you know, as Miss Kimberly said, like she's been doing real estate for 10 years. So, or longer, I apologize. I didn't mean to jump into your career there. And, you know, Michael being able to, Dr. Spence being able to find that love and flourish in it, man, it's a beautiful thing. And when you can actually coach others and mentor others in this space that you love, I wake up every day as a volunteer running my own organization. It's a beautiful, it's a beautiful space to be in. So,
yeah, that's awesome. And Michael Spence, Dr. Spence, would you like to add on?
Michael is fine, please. I
Okay.
probably shouldn't have stuck that on there for fear that, yeah. But
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing that has been alluded to here, the idea of being in a group and having support. In the case of writing, I've found a great deal of help from simply being in a writing group. And, we have one called Right Now, spelled with a W, and meets over at the Living Word Christian Center once a month. And they have been extremely encouraging and want me to keep at it. And have set quite a few examples. And this is not the only group in town. So
yeah, and
critical. Also, I noticed, Dr. Wolf, you're doing your head of Toastmasters, founder of Toastmasters. No,
president.
Founder of
NSBE Junior.
NSBE.
Cities, yes. National Society of Black Engineers. Just a chapter, though. So,
but which and all of this is reminding me. I used to work for Meharry Medical College down in Nashville, and I said I was the token white guy.
Well, I think Mike, Dr. Spence, you're in good company, because I think I would safely say, after hearing everything, we were all the token black people for decades. And the club.
And it was
100%.
Really
fun. And I wanted to add on to what you were saying, Michael. Sometimes, you know, if the things that you're interested in, if you don't have people necessarily in your immediate circle that are into the things that you're in, you have to go find those groups or find those avenues where people do share your interests. So you have a place for those ideas to land where you can feel supported and can feel heard, right?
Yeah. And while social media has done a lot of damage, it has that particular positive point in its favor. It will introduce you to others of your tribe, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Now, it's funny, Coach. You were saying that they considered you too black, and I'm thinking, how does that happen? Just by the same token, I'm thinking, they call me white, but I'm sorry, that's not the color I see in the mirror. It's somewhere reddish pink, and I'm thinking, well, if they ask me to put something down on a questionnaire, nobody has ever given me the option. It's always, check this box or that. But I am determined to say melanin deficient and leave it at that. So.
Yes.
Actually fun.
Yes, the two conversation is a whole nother chat. We can do that one for a different day for sure. Kimberly, I want to bring you back in. I know we talked about earlier, sometimes the catalyst for change or transition might be a loss of a job, but sometimes the catalyst for change or transition is something going on in your community. And I know one of the things that you mentioned was after the killing of George Floyd, it was time for you to put this idea that you had been sitting on, changing your community, this idea of home ownership and making it real for more people in the Black community. After the murder of George Floyd, you said it was time to take action. Talk about that time for you, and what was it that said, I can't wait anymore?
Yeah, I think, I'm born and raised here, right? Seen a whole lot happen here. And it was time, it came to me as that, is this going to be just a moment or a movement, right? And it just really, I think COVID in general, I tell people if COVID didn't make you sit back, stop and assess things, your life, why you're here, why are you here, and what your priorities are, then that's on you. But I was able to do that. And when I did that, I was just getting a lot of information, right? Getting information because I was exposed to a lot of data and a lot of information. I've been in the real estate business. I've been in the mortgage business. I've been in the philanthropic business. And I had access to lots of data that was showing things that were uncomfortable to me around Black home ownership, right? The numbers in Black home ownership. And if somebody doesn't change anything by 2040, the numbers are going to be at their all-time lowest that they've ever been. And we were stripped of, that's a whole nother, probably another show, talking about what we were stripped of as a Black community. But I just thought, you know what? I can do something here at home. Now, I was doing things nationally, providing down payment assistance across the country. And my programs were national programs in scope. But I needed to do something at home and do something here and make an impact here. And made the choice and the jump. I tell people that it was like you're on a cliff, right? You know you're going to jump off the cliff. It's just a matter of when you're going to do it, right? And you have to have the courage to make that drastic change. And sometimes the change has to be drastic, right? And for me, it was drastic, but then it'll prove to be the best choice that you ever made. So, I'm all about building my community and doing what I can do to help. For me, home ownership, it's about building wealth, and it's about building wealth in Black communities. And that's the focus, and that's really what we need. And so I made the change to do that. And really a lot of factors. You had the COVID factor that gave me time to sit back and think. And then the George Floyd factor, which that was all around the racial inequities and everything that's going on. It really inspired me to make that change and to do what's necessary. And that's what it's all about, making that change and doing what's necessary. And really, what I'm hearing things is developing a plan. But here's the thing about plans. Some plans, plans can be changed, right? So if you develop a plan to do something, and I'm a goal setter, right? I'll do short-term goals to get to the long-term goals. But goals can be adjusted, right? And people, I would say, don't be hard on yourself. If just like that cheeseburger thing that you was eating, Dr. Dr. Don't be hard on yourself, because then you just adjust. Some things don't always work out the way that we want them to work out, right? Yes. And you have to adjust it and forgive yourself, and don't be hard on yourself, but have your mind made up. And it's a hard thing. I love that, Coach Don. It's a hard thing. You got to get out of the mind, because the mind will take you places. And sometimes them friends that you have will take you places that you really don't want to go, or they'll tell you that ain't going to work. You can't do that. That's Find a cheerleader. I think about when I grew up, I always had an auntie or a godmother. I always had somebody that would think that I could do no wrong. Those are my cheerleaders, right? And I would go to them and I talk to them. Find somebody that you can connect with. And also I'll mention, I love, Coach Don, how you talked about giving back. I always give back. You got to make time to give back to your community. I mentor girls. through Girls Taking Action. I don't know if you guys know Dr.
Yes, of
Yes, yeah. I was her board chair for 5-6 years, but it's always important to give back, because when you get back, you give more back. It replenishes you to do more.
And I love what you just said. It reminded me of sometimes when you're on a path that maybe feels most authentic to you, there may be people who don't understand the path that you feel you need to be on. They may not understand where you feel like you need to go. And they may be afraid of the person that you're becoming, and they don't know how to be there for you in the way you need to be supported in this new phase of life. And so it's the challenge.
They call those haters.
Yeah. And so the challenge is, it's like, yeah. And so the challenge is, can you staying on this path that feels like the most authentic path for you, even if the people who are closest to you that you hoped would be there or that had always been there for you at other times in life, they may not be able to understand this new space, but you got to still go, even if they can't see where you're headed.
Yeah. I mean, it's important that you take that first step. Take that first step. I mean, some people are afraid to take that first step, and I think if we all talk, what if we didn't take that step?
Yep.
What if we didn't take that first step and make that change? Where would we? It's like that saying, the basketball shot, right? The shot that if you don't take that shot, you'll never have made it, right?
Yeah.
So you never know. You never know. You got to make that first step.
Absolutely. And then there's some folks in your life that may say, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you're not going to be there. And it's not really that you can't, it's that they couldn't see that for themselves. And so they can't see that journey. It's not a risk that they would be willing to take for themselves. It's not a step that they would be willing to take for themselves. And so you have to distinguish at times between, okay, this is projecting and this is me, and I'm going to keep doing me, even if they can't understand it. Could you speak to that a little bit, Coach Dawn?
Yeah, it's your vision. They're not supposed to see it because it's yours. And so I do a lot of, and Kimberly's like, I do a lot of pointing to here.
That's
because they're not supposed to, because it was born within you. And so when we get to that place of making that decision to move and take that first step, take the shot. I ran track and field, so coming out the blocks, we just have to move, and we have to trust ourselves. Yes, courage is a big thing, but you have to trust your own voice. You have to trust what you are feeling and move in that direction. Servant leadership and giving back and figuring out what is your truest why. And once you figure out, especially if you're looking at this servant space, and it sounds like many of us here are really big on serving and giving back, there's a lot of responsibility in that. But there's always so much love and healing, and it just spreads like crazy. Once you decide, once people see you doing their thing, and just like Kimberly said, here come the haters. But that's the whole point, right? You got, I mean, that is a part of the journey, because there are individuals who have no idea that they even need to go on a journey or even need to go on a path. And for me, it's like, I'm not going to hate on you because you don't know what you don't know yet. But one day when you get to that crossroads, and we all get there, it all shows up differently from each and every one of us. But when you get there and you pause, that's why 2020 was a great awakening, because we were all forced to pause. We were all forced to shift. And for those of us who made those shifts, whether they were painful, whether they were extremely uncomfortable, but you made them. And now once you practice that, because everything is a practice, everything. And so once you continue on that path and take the next step, the next shot, it just becomes second nature. And then you can see all the folks that are watching you, because again, we live in a social media society where everybody is watching. They may not be commenting, they may not be liking, but they're watching. And Dr. Wolf knew that they were watching, and his platform and the things that he put out there for people to see his journey. And some of them might have been embarrassed to comment or didn't feel that they were ready yet, but they were watching and they were being encouraged. So for those of us who have made the leap to transition in our later years, you never know who you're impacting. So keep doing the work. So just go inward and know that you have a servant's heart, and that the work that you do to heal yourself and to be on this path truly has an impact on the collective. So keep going. It's really bigger than just us. It really is. And once you really hone that, especially in this space, it makes such a difference in the journey. And your heart is just so full that you can't stop. And it's just more and more and more that comes to you. Once you stop, it just keeps going. You get more clarity, you get more answers, you get more energized. You lose another 100 pounds, right, Dr. Wolf? You just keep going.
Yeah.
You do more writing, right, Dr. Spence?
Yes.
You write those books.
And you write more books.
Write those books, sell those homes, lose those pounds, help those clients.
Yes.
Have these chats, whatever it is.
Yes.
Yes, whatever it is. Well, that's such a great note to end on. And I just want to say thank you all so much for giving an hour of your Friday to share this space, have this conversation, and, hopefully connect with some folks that took a little time to share in this conversation along with us. If you all could hang on for just a moment, I'm going to end the broadcast and then stay in the backstage area, and I'll catch up with you for just a couple of minutes. Take care, everyone. Have a great evening.
Bye. Be well.